Welcome to Common Hood. This your host, Simon P. And as always, I got another brother from the Conscious Column with us today, Mr. Khalid Blunt. He gonna continue with this book, man. I don't know how he gonna get this digested in your soul, in your spirit, and your mind. So we still looking for some comments to come and help Khalid out with this one. He said it's not a thick book.
Well, if you look at this book, looks thick, but you open it up and you see, oh, it's double spaced. So think of it as half as thick right off the bat.
Now, why is that your favorite book for history? Because that's your go-to. When somebody say they want to learn history, this explain why this book is the one to go to. Though it's somewhat could be a difficult read. It's your main book.
I admit, number one, to being a hopeless fan of this particular scholar. Because this is the first person that kind of broke it for me, giving up on the NAACP, we've made it, everything's all right, imagination,
right,
and realizing our true history. So Dr. Yoseph Ben-Jochannan is a trailblazer to me, and this book includes so much that's fundamental to all of human history and shows us so many things that started in Africa that others have claimed and tried to put Africans out of the picture of human development.
Are you saying that no school board in America is utilizing this book with so much rich history?
I'm not aware. I'm not aware of any K through 12 school system in the public sphere using this.
I would
like to know.
I don't even think it's at the age to historically Black college universities as well.
Oh, well, I know some, Black faculty members in various places, HBCUs and otherwise, who use this book, who believe in this text. But what K through 12 systems.
Do you think it's nice to introduce this work?
At the age at which you begin introducing any history. Right. I mean, if you bring your 4-year-old to the 4th of July celebration, they're getting history. So they need to get it straight from the beginning.
And this book here is about getting it straight. Now, yes. Can I go back to you? When did you first engage with this author?
It was the summer after my 11th grade year.
11th grade, 16 years old.
And 16 years. And some friends literally dragged me to a lecture. Dr. Ben used to tour the country every summer. He was on faculty at a college, but he would tour the country giving single lectures or some places doing short mini courses. And so Detroit was one of his every year stops. Also, he would take groups of people to the Nile Valley to go inside the monuments themselves and see the history personally.
Yeah, he passed about 2 or 3 years ago?
It's been, I think, 5 years, if I remember right. Yeah.
Yes, I wonder who picked up the mantle because he was.
Well,
I seen YouTube videos of him. I never met him person. That must have been like.
Well, you should have met him in 1988 when I brought him to Gainesville, but it didn't get the traction it should have.
I graduated and went to the military at that time.
There's an organization called the Association for the Study of Classical African Civilization.
Association of Study of Classical African American Civilization.
No, African.
Okay.
Association for the Study of Classical African Civilization. Go online, ASCAC.org, and look at ASCAC. And Dr. Ben, Dr. John Henry Clark, Asa Hilliard, Leonard Jeffries, a lot of the names that stand out in Black history scholarship were involved in starting that organization, and it still continues.
Well, we got it. That's my first time hearing about an organization. You make me feel like I've been lost in the cloud out there. Mm-hmm. So, we need to make sure that I get engaged with it so we can do a better job, at least in this area where we're at, to do our part. And this is one part of your legacy. Since I've been knowing you, that's what you've been into.
Well, I'm not dead yet, so I hope to continue this a lot further. We're going to have some community reading circles with this book. When I get ready to set that up, you will hear about it, and you need to come.
All right. So I think the book may cost you $38 or $40 on Amazon. So if you in Gainesville, Florida, close to Khalid, go ahead and spend that $1 and get that circle going for Khalid.
I looked online. I found one for $19. So it just depends on where you look.
So it's a spread either way.
Check eBay, check Amazon, but please check the Institute for Positive Education in Chicago and see where they recommend you get the book. The Institute for Positive Education. That's two references now. ASCAC and IPE.
I wonder with Obama building his new library, I wonder how much of those books would be.
Next time I get him on the phone, I will ask him.
We're going to have to go to Chicago and check that out.
Yeah.
To say, hey, man, get this library right over here.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But anyway, it's so much rich history in the Nile Valley and all the Mediterranean. I'm going to say Africa, but you always say Al-Kabu.
Yeah, Al-Kebulon or Al-Kabu.
Al-Kabu in this case.
Those are original names. Africa, it comes from a Greek label, as does Egypt, as does Sphinx. All these things had names before the European. You think about Columbus landing on this near this continent and saying, y'all are Indians. And the people are going, no.
Be careful. This year, 2026, America come up on that 250 years.
250 years of getting away with it.
Getting away with it. Mm-hmm. That's another story itself, that Independence Day really didn't start 250 years ago. It was before then. Yeah. So with the engagements of the Europes coming in, emerging in Africa.
So what word? Say again?
You say with the engagements of the Europeans coming in to Africa.
Well, the handling of African history and accomplishments by European scholarship has involved a particular process. You find something outstanding. Okay, what's the smallest box you can put it in? How can you label these people as separate from these people when they live right next to each other? Now we see clearly that Europe and Asia intermixed vigorously with the Nile Valley and all of North Africa. Why do they think that the original humans that's in Africa did not mix, intermingle, and share with each other before modern humans ever ventured out to any other continent? There was constant sharing, contact, interaction long before there were people in Europe and Asia to come back and start sharing those accomplishments.
Well, we all kind of common sense know that was a lie of them engaging and saying that they didn't have a civilization.
But this is what's fed to us.
But that's what's been fed only to the West.
Well, Western education.
That's what Western education
in Europe, in North America, and then back into Africa with colonialism, taught this model of the Greco-Roman origin of civilization, that all things of deep culture, deep knowledge, intellectual achievements in science starts with Greece and Rome. That is the model that Western education has pushed for several centuries.
Well,
and it's not the truth.
They've always taking the full credit on the succession of the intellectual that will help establish culture and just the material wealth. So just give some examples on some of the things that you would say that need to be challenged as far as what they're saying truth and what we know to be different.
Well, all this labeling and segmenting of the people within Al-Kebulon or Africa, Hittites, Hamites, Hausa, Bantu, Hottentot, Pygmy, all these labels from the outside put there just to separate and segment these people, put them in the smallest possible boxes and pretend that they aren't able to build a civilization together, which is exactly what they did. And then the Europeans come and start to claim.
But as you say, that's what the West did. But however, we know that in Africa, they have their own different tribes with different ways they do things.
Yeah, but Africa was heavily colonized. The Berlin Conference of 1885.
But even before they was colonized, they had their own thing. That's just the story that they was feeding us on how it was. And we've all known that to be over the time that it's a lie. There was a huge culture there, and it's still a culture. And here as African Americans, we're trying to establish a culture like black, you a Negro, or you African American, or you and you know, a lot of us are saying that being African American is like, man, I never been to Africa, so I just however the ball rolls.
Some of us have developed, just because of our own how we have been treated here, have developed a suspicion about the things that are being taught. But that is a far different thing than actually learning the truth. You know, the Black Power movement of the 60s and 70s and a little into the 80s, it was a wonderful thing. I was in the midst of that and I was loving it, but it was emotive, it was reactive. It was not built on a solid foundation of unchanging knowledge. Emotions fade. Knowledge is permanent and no one can take it. So we have to learn the actual specifics of the history that's covered up. It was covered up for a reason. And that is to make a certain group of people superior, more powerful in economics, in world economics. So Africa is now has some of the fastest growing cities and economies in the world, but who will it serve? Who will be developed? At the same time, we see Ebola exploding. And since the 70s, at least, conservatives in Congress had a plan called Global 2000, and they said we will get rid of pockets of useless eaters by fomenting wars, withdrawing aid, medical and food aid. What they're doing is saying, how will we clear the slate on these places that are resource rich so we can take them over? And now we see Europe sweltering, having a heat dome. People are dying, and they're going to start thinking, okay, we got to move somewhere else. We're going to have to move some people out of the way. So we have to learn our history if we intend to survive into the future.
Well, I think Africans realize that. That's why you're hearing more of them saying that, you know, we don't need you. We want the land back. Period. They're saying we have the land is the resources. They're saying we need to straighten that out.
And the elements in it.
Yeah. So,
and Africa has the largest deposits of 26 minerals that are strategic for modern technology. So we have to know why they're so after Africa.
Well,
neglecting its people.
I'm gonna ask you a tough question, because we are African American. We are black. We are born here, and we're hold on. Okay. We're very distant away from. I want to know what tribe to go to.
Well,
say where that is at. How do we bridge the gap with the connection that finding our place on two separate continents? Let's just say
there's no excuse not to. We have transatlantic flights. We have the internet. We have communication that didn't exist just several generations ago. So it is certainly possible to make that connection. That connection is essential. You have a few places in Africa, Ibrahim Traore in Burkina Faso, uniting with his neighbors in Niger and Mali, talking again about a United States of Africa. But that was talked about in the 60s. When leaders like Sankara and Lumumba were murdered and Nkrumah was pushed out of office because they were talking about a United States of Africa. Africa's worst problem today is the borders that were imposed by Europeans at that conference in Berlin that sealed in 1885. That ignored natural borders, natural divisions, where different tribes were. It put people into boxes they would not have formed themselves. And so you have these countries having these civil wars because of these unnatural souvenir borders imposed by these Europeans who are taking land in Africa.
What's the solution for today?
I believe that the efforts that I just described, Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali, I hope that spreads all over, up in the northern Africa.
I'm hearing it saying that if you're African, it makes sense. But African American, are we saying that we almost to the verge that we're looking for African continent to reach out?
Well, if the
and say that, hey, let's start making a channel pathway
Why would we not want to claim our heritage in the continent that is the resource richest and the fastest growing?
It is.
What better wagon to hitch yourself to?
That's the most emerging continent.
Yeah.
For its economics, and let's just be a part of it. So I think some of the things is taking the movements. You know, you said the civil rights. Where did the Pan-African move in with that? When did that get its?
Well, the Pan-African movement was a recognition as African colonies were getting their freedom in the late 50s, early 60s. People around the world, people of African descent, and I like to use the term ABIA, ABIA, Africans born in America. And especially when I hear people use citizenship terms like African American, and they're talking about any time before the Civil War, that's crazy. You can't be a citizen and property. So I question the citizenship label until that citizenship is fully realized. And we're looking at voting rights trying to get snatched away today, 160 years after the emancipation, and we're still trying to get things even. There was a small period from 1865 to 1877 when it was almost a level playing field, when we saw what America could truly become. That was the Reconstruction period. And then old guard forces in the South got out of the doghouse in DC. You know, they were the bad kids for a decade behind that Civil War. But as they started coming back to their fullness of power, I'm talking about the old leaders from the South, people who had been Confederates who were trying to destroy the Union, came back to federal power. And Andrew Johnson took over after Lincoln was killed and started giving back those 40-acre lots. So the Reconstruction that happened in that 10 years after the Civil War showed this country's real potential and the potential for African Americans. And hopefully it would have spread more to the Native Americans as well. But it didn't happen. If that had continued, this country probably would have had a moonwalk in the 30s. Cancer would be long cured. Think of all the genius that was suppressed and oppressed through Jim Crow and black codes. It was
all the genius, how much patents and stuff that was stolen. You know, blacks created a whole lot. What's the comedian name that's from Africa? I love seeing his short reels because he's always showing plenty genius things that blacks did, from elevators to blood plasma.
You might be talking about Godfrey. I know
Godfrey,
there's a lot of that.
Yes. That's him. He always bring reels up showing that. And it's like when I see the reels, I always say that this wasn't in school when I was in school.
You can't walk around a modern city for an hour without running into the dozen things that were black inventions, but they were not allowed to get the patent.
Right. So it gives the illusion of the false impression that one predominantly race was the only benefit for society. Everybody else just fits in. And that is something that, you know, you want to highlight through these conversations.
It's a bizarrely broken relationship that the group that is the parents of humanity are now being abused by their children.
The group is the parent of humanity are now being abused by the children they taught how to survive.
Yes.
Wow. I will always remember that. The sacking of the libraries, destruction of the Berlin Wall.
Yeah, this was a pattern. Europeans would come in, find great accomplishments, claim it, say they did it, or destroy it. In 1898, the British cannonaded thousands of miles of wall around Benin that made the Great Wall of China look like Lego, and then just wiped it out, just pretended it was never there. So this was a pattern, to wipe out accomplishments or to claim them, pretend they never happened, and again, to put everybody in these small boxes and pretend that this was not known all over the whole continent. That this was an act, this was a fluke. that happened in this one little place, or a European or Asian person brought this in. The African people there didn't bring it. And I keep saying Africa because we are so familiar with that word. You have to communicate, but I want to keep stressing these are not the original names.
I think I'm going to start trying to form a better relationship with anybody who I know from the motherland to understand how economics work in their part, because they're living over here with us. So we can teach them how the economics work in their part. And if I can talk to any athlete that got millions of dollars, say that instead of worrying about the Dr. Shakur was here with the early, he loves it. He don't like to see that the diamond rings and gold teeth and all of that being over in abundance, when he's feeling like there's more of us getting hurt in those mines that's doing that.
Yeah, it's a very exploitive extraction. Where those yes. countries and those people are not benefiting from that wealth, and they're working under deadly working conditions.
And one of the things that you take the De Beers or some of these major companies that's controlling those mines, the Africans there don't have that type of wealth in some of those areas they can do the work, obviously, because the companies are using them. But I always thought, what if you flip the script? If you say, hey, LeBron, we're going to ask you to buy the equipment over here in Kenya. And the equipment that's used, we already have the workers to do it. And LeBron gets a piece of percentage of that. That's way less because he's there to be in America and he could do business over there to help the Africans out, but help it make it to open up the channel where wealth can be created and flowing a little bit more. You take, let's just say if it was Michael Jackson, one of the greatest entertainers, if somebody would have had him to realize that, hey, you can have your motherland over here. You can do what you want to do over here. You hear about the labor that they have in the Chinese areas, the Asian markets, where they create the shoes and they do that. And when I went to Africa, at least when I Ghana, I saw them doing their own clothes. I mean, they got people who could do the stitches there. So we as African Americans that have access to more wealth, it's just like make your wealth and do the factories over there.
Yeah, and we can even realize
that's what I think.
What products are we picking up here? People are now showing a desire to wear some African print, African clothes. Know that when you buy print kente, that comes from Asia. Real kente is hand woven. You can touch the fabric, the lines of thread on real kente.
These are the things that when I look at the Pan-African movement or the civil rights movement, these are things that to me we dropped the ball on the intellect. Like I'm tired of trying to get along with the predominantly what they consider the white race. I'm past that civil rights just let you in the door. It's like, why would your child who says you the lower status would ever want to give you a helping hand? Well, that helping hand got to come from us. So I would like to see more of a dialect and addressing these problems, not only just being mindful of the history, but Africans have history sometimes that we think that be different from what we know.
Well, we should,
because they're there. They're there and they're living it.
Those of us here, a lot of times when I've met people from the continent, I share with them what I'm learning about their history. They appreciate knowing that we care about learning that. If I meet somebody from the Union of South Africa, I'm going to ask them, hey, how are things now in Mono Motapa? I'm going to call it their own original name instead of Union of South Africa.
Right. So, but those conversations need to be had. If you heard some grotesque things from us of being so oblivious to the rich history there, that sometimes you think that all Africans are barefooted and don't have anything. Now, it has improved now because the internet has opened a gateway where you see Africans making a movie on Netflix and directing a whole African staff and you're seeing it and you're like, whoa, it's different. But go back to them 80s and 90s when you was on BET, all they showed was Africans with flies around them showing the worst parts of Africa, and most people had a condition in their mind like, well, I don't know if I want to go over there. And all those decades is just missing without having the ability to travel. So from an economic point of view, it's like to go to Africa is between $1,200 and $1,600 for a round trip to get there and back.
Mm-hmm.
Like next time I go, I don't want to go to Africa for the tourist part.
Mm-hmm.
I want to connect with a brother and sister to get into the heart, to really understand the culture and start adapting and embracing. Because our culture is just different from theirs. Let's just say when we have a parade, you have a Caribbean parade here, and then you have different festivals. Jamaica, all the Caribbeans have one, but in America,
well,
America, we gotta get that straight right there.
We
gotta get that straight.
We have little beginnings.
We have a little beginnings.
Like we have a lot of communities now have the holiday celebration of Kwanzaa. Here in Alachua County, where we're taping, we're gonna have a Ghanaian-based festival the first weekend of August. Called Homowo.
Yes,
just north of Gainesville.
That's been a couple of times that's been there. I know about it.
I think it's on the 12th. I think it's on the 12th.
Yeah, I always get invited. Just I haven't been able to connect to go out there. But here's the thing about
we're gonna get in your car and go this time.
But I would like to see how can we find every Africans that's in the community here to be able to go out there and share that, to expand upon that, to make it something bigger and better than what it is.
Right.
And I understand the dressing in the white. This and that. I did that when I went to Ghana. So when I go back to Ghana, and I've been to South Africa, when I go back, I say I want to connect with a local to really enjoy it outside. Now was that rich history? Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was some rich history, visiting the last bath and all that. But it was like that sad moment saying, oh man, these are all the places they take you to when
next time you go,
colonizers took it, and it's like, okay, I've been there, done that, I know.
Next time you go, after you take that tour at the slave fort on the West Coast, whichever ones you go to, at the end of the tour, ask the griot who's leading the tour to take you back to their neighborhood.
No, that wouldn't set up. That's why I said when I go back, I won't even go on the tour. I'd rather have that let the first timers do that, but let me get soaked in the culture for a little while. Mm-hmm. To form that type of dialect. Every time I wear a shirt or two that I bought over there, whenever I wear it, everybody asks me, where did you get that shirt? And when I think about the kid that made the shirt and made the beautiful design of the mud cracks with the African continent with the cracks in it, the history of it, when I say, where is he at now? And he said, I had to stop. It's like, man, it's the production. It's not him having access to opportunity to get his stuff out to the world.
Well, several countries
for us to be aware, so we can stop buying Gucci and Louis Vuitton and this. And the Africans, this is guilty too. They be wanting the high end fashion they get from Europe.
Yeah, let's change the song.
Yeah, but let's change it. Yeah,
got my Chucks on with shea butter. I can kiss myself. I'm so pretty. Let's go back to our stuff. So, several countries are approaching this. The ones I mentioned, Niger, Mali, Burkina, they're now saying raw materials, raw ore is not leaving our shores. Yes, if you want to dig it up here, you must process it here. Something about further added value has to happen here. They're changing the
business dynamics, which I pray that it really help the citizens over there. Yeah. Africa is such a vast, huge continent.
Well, they're demanding that some of the value-adding steps happen in their country.
When I think of Africa, how huge a continent, that we talk about Europe, it's just a blink of an eye to drop Europe and Africa. Still have vast land. You could put China in Africa.
You could put the United States in Africa 4.5 times.
You still have plenty flowing. So to me, that's a beautiful thing to know that not only that continent sits there with all those beautiful black gold over there, but yeah, we dispersed everywhere too. Mm-hmm. So I'm just looking for the unity to come back at some point. And that's what these conversations is about. I'm going to leave here because you mentioned some books. And as I read them, you just put your quick spin on it, and hopefully they'll be added to one's library. You said The Stolen Legacy by George G. James.
Well, that one talks specifically what I've been talking about, how so many things of African creation So many things, so many innovations and genius that came out of Alkebulan has been claimed by others, claiming that people there could not have done this.
Okay, you got the Intro to Afro Civilization.
Introduction to African Civilization.
Introduction to Africa by John Jackson.
Yeah, that's also a basic text. I would put it right alongside this book. It's a basic text that covers so many topics out of African development.
Khalid giving this up because he's trying to get a book club, a good discussion going here, so the conscious corner can get a little bigger. With the grassroots level. That's what Khalid vision is. Stir it up in the grassroots. Making of Europe, Chris Dawson.
That talks about how Europe developed. There's a couple books on there along that line. Also, the Moors in Spain by Stanley Lane Poole. These talk about how Africa, Alkebulan, was civilizing Europe. Greece and Rome got so much out of their contact with the Nile Valley.
Moors in Spain?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the second time, 711 AD, African people, the Moors are coming up there and teaching everything from public sanitation to crop irrigation and building public education systems, civilizing Europe. And they ain't got civilized yet. But we tried twice.
African people in world history, John Henry Clark.
Yeah, another one of the founders of ASCAC, and telling how this world, we won't have this world without Alkebulan first.
And the histories by Herodotus.
Yeah, that's the Greek. That's the ancient writer, the Greek that Western education calls the father of history. And they love his book 1, where he talks about all the great things going on in Greece. But they say, oh, book 2, he got syphilis or something that made him crazy and started giving all this credit back to Africa. He was crazy in book 2.
What about the book by Frank Snowden? That's our last one, Blacks in Antiquity.
He goes through so many achievers who created civilization. And he points out the difference between empire and civilization. Rome was at open warfare something like 80% of the time that it existed. Kemet was at warfare less than 20% of the time that it existed. There's a difference between empire and civilization. Civilization is about peace.
Got it. And on that note, we're getting ready to peace out.
Okay, well, I want to ask you to do a few things.
Go ahead.
Eat half, walk double, laugh triple, read without measure, and love infinitely. Thank you.
That was powerful. This is Simon P. and Khalid. Hit that like, subscribe, and share. We out.